Monsters OT. We're happy to be with you here on Valley Sports Great Lakes as always. And as always, we're presented by the UH Drasinski Sports Medicine Institute. Tony Brown here with you and flying solo for this final show for this season. Brad Thiessen, he is in Columbus right now at the Blue Jackets. Of course, he is the Jackets goaltending development coach. So with the NHL draft lottery behind us now, the offseason in full swing. And so he's a part of the Blue Jackets scouting meetings. We've got a big show for you. Coming up, we'll have an extended Labatt Blue interview with Monsters Vice President of Marketing and Communications, Ben Adams. We'll talk a little bit about the season that was, and we'll talk a little bit about what to expect for Monster fans next year. We'll also run down a ton of great highlights from the 22-23 AHL season in our Monsters Memories segment as we'll take a look back at the campaign. But as usual, we begin the show with headlines. We thought we would start headlines this time around with a look at the final standings from the 22-23 AHL season in the North Division for the Monsters. Unfortunately, despite a lot of drama at the end of the regular campaign, the Monsters unable to qualify for the Calder Cup playoffs. So you see there with the Toronto Marlies winning the division, the Monsters ended up just outside the playoff picture in 6th place in front of 7th place Belleville. But with this new AHL playoff format this year, a lot more teams in it until those final days and games of the regular season, so it certainly created a lot of drama, but you see there the Monsters missing out on the playoffs this year. Let's keep things moving along and take a look around the American Hockey League at all of the league-wide awards that were doled out over the first couple of weeks of the Calder Cup playoffs at the end of the regular season here, and there are a ton of winners to get to, so let's just kind of tell you who took down the biggest prizes outside of the Calder Cup in the AHL this year. We'll begin with the Calgary Wranglers, who really had an outstanding season yet again. They captured the McGregor Kilpatrick Trophy as the regular season champions in the league, and their goaltender, Dustin Wolf, I mean, it's amazing what he's been able to achieve in the AHL. Not only is he your AHL MVP this year, he won the Les Cunningham Award, but he also took home both of the goaltending awards in the league. I'm talking about the Baz Bastian Memorial Award for the top goaltender in the league and the Harry Hap Holmes Memorial Award as well. So these are huge honors for a player in Dustin Wolf that has become really one of the finest prospects in all of the American League. And of course, as we mentioned, he plays for Calgary, who had outstanding team success this year as well. I'm going to skip down, seeing as we're talking about Calgary, to the Louis A.R. Pieri Memorial Award. This goes to the top coach in the American Hockey League. And, well, for the second consecutive year, it was Calgary's Mitch Love who was able to take that honor. And Mitch Love is a name that I'm sure Monster fans remember, as he was one of the, shall we say, pugilists in some of those early teams for the Monsters, and now has gone on to outstanding success as a head coach in this league. Big congrats to Ty Kartye. We've already seen his name pop up not just in the American League, but at the NHL level, as he is really succeeding with the Seattle Kraken in the Stanley Cup playoffs. But this year with the Coachella Valley Firebirds, who played their first season in the AHL, Kartye was honored with the Dudley Red Garrett Memorial Award as the American Hockey League's Rookie of the Year. And similarly, out west, it was Christian Wolanin taking home the Eddie Shore Award. That goes to the league's top defenseman. Just an outstanding season offensively, specifically for that puck-moving D-man in the Abbotsford Canucks organization there with the Vancouver Canucks overarching organization as well. Let's talk about the John B. Sollenberger Trophy and the Willie Marshall Award. Those go to the leading point getter and the leading goal scorer in the American Hockey League this year. In terms of points, it was Michael Carcone from the Tucson Roadrunners who was able to take home that Sollenberger Trophy, and Andy Andrioff, a name that Monster fans have seen with a couple of different organizations over the last couple of years. He's with Bridgeport, or at least was this last season, and he took home the Willie Marshall Award as the AHL's top goal scorer this year. Next up are a couple of really cool awards too. The Fred T. Hunt Memorial Award goes to a player who most exemplifies determination, perseverance, dedication to hockey, and this went to the captain of the Toronto Marlies, the North Division champions, Logan Shaw. He's a guy that has played in the NHL before. He's become a huge contributor in the American League, and to be recognized as a veteran in this league with that honor, I'm sure super meaningful for him. And big congratulations to a guy the Monsters used to see play when he was with the Milwaukee Admirals, now with the Winnipeg Jets organization, as the captain, in fact, of the Manitoba a Moose. I'm talking, of course, about Jimmy Olinny. Veteran D-man took home the Yannick Dupre Memorial Award. Think of that kind of like the Walter Payton Man of the Year Award in the NFL. It goes to the player who goes above and beyond for the community. Each team has a nominee for that award. The Monsters nominee was Dylan Simpson, their captain this year, but the big winner is Jimmy Olinny right there. So there you have it, your AHL awards for the 22-23 season. Let's keep things moving now on headlines with a little check into what's going on in the Calder Cup playoffs that are ongoing right now. We're still marching towards the third and eventual, final round of the Calder Cup playoffs with the Calder Cup final. But right now, down to 8 teams, as you can see on your screen there. We'll focus specifically on the North Division situation, which saw in dramatic fashion the Rochester Americans come back on the Syracuse Crunch, and then with an overtime goal in Game 5 of that series, they moved on to face the Toronto Marlies, who had already defeated Utica, and so that series will be for the North Division crown. That was already won in the regular season by Toronto, but those two teams, Rochester and the Marlies, will compete to see who moves on to the Eastern Conference Final. So make sure you stay tuned to AHL TV throughout the playoffs here, because there is so much great hockey yet to be played. It's hard, I know, as Monster fans, to not see your team in the mix there, but there's still so much great hockey to be enjoyed at the AHL and the National League level. So we hope all of you guys are enjoying these playoff runs. All right, with that, headlines is over and done with. We'll take a break, and when we return, we'll sit down with Monsters Vice President of Marketing and Communications, Ben Adams, to talk about the season that was and next year for the Monsters. Stay with us, plenty more ahead. This is Monsters OT, presented by the UH Straczynski Sports Medicine Institute, only here on Valley Sports Great Lakes. Welcome back, everyone, to another edition of Monsters OT, presented by the UH Straczynski Sports Medicine Institute here on Valley Sports Great Lakes. And remember, everybody, Monsters OT is presented in part by Labatt Blue. And speaking of Labatt Blue, it's time for our Labatt Blue interview. We're very happy to have with us today Monsters Vice President of Marketing and Communications, Ben Adams. We're going to talk in 2 parts here, Ben, about the 22-23 season, and then maybe a little bit about what's to come next year. But thanks for taking a few minutes.
Absolutely, always a pleasure.
All right, so let's start with last year. It was super notable for a lot of different reasons, and one of those was the attendance that the Monsters were able to generate here, and the fans that came and made this atmosphere so special, as they always do. The Monsters led the league in attendance, and I know for any front office, that is a serious achievement, something to hang your hat on.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know that over the last 10 years, we've been hovering around that top 3. It was great to get the top spot this year, and it's all thanks to the great support we have here in Cleveland. Over 9,500 fans per game here at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse and Brown Stadium.
Very nice. And you know, I wanted to, let's kind of extend on that a little bit, because this was an interesting year. I know in the entire sports industry, the question was, now that you're sort of quote-unquote through the COVID era, are fans going to come back? Is the staff going to be able to replicate what we did before this pandemic put the entire sports business off the rails for a little while there? So how about that? The resiliency of the business, of the staff, but also of the fans. It shows that they were hungry for hockey that whole time.
Yeah, and we were really fortunate to get great support throughout the pandemic and immediately after. Even last year, we were top 2 in the league in attendance, but this year, over 20% more people in the building for every single game when we were already towards the top of the league, just to really put us quite a bit ahead in first place this year.
That's a remarkable figure right there. So whatever the Monsters were doing before, it's just better and better as the seasons go on. All right, let's talk a little bit about one of the big things with the Monsters, and that's the promotions. I know as marketing communications, you're certainly hugely involved in the promo schedule here. So what are some of your personal faves from this last year? I mean, there's a lot to choose from.
Yeah, I'm really proud of the work that our group did this year. I think Batman Night was one that stands out, especially the way we were able to weave in the story of Brooks from a Special Wish Foundation, and for those that were at that game, you remember the sort of experience that we were able to give Batman Brooks and his brother Robin that game, and with our help of Dylan Simpson, our captain. So that was really special. Those jerseys were pretty awesome. And then Lumberjacks Weekend, that's always a hit, but I especially like to see Dave Mikhailuk get his recognition, get that number up in the rafters. and see all the Lumberjacks alumni back together, and fans still love those guys.
Oh man, they really do. I mean, it's amazing the amount of, it goes beyond excitement,
Yeah.
I think, from the fans leading into that Lumberjacks weekend. So hopefully we'll see that again in the future.
Yeah,
That's for the next
love the
segment.
gear too. We had a great retail weekend, and anytime we roll out that teal and black, fans seem to love it.
All right, so that's what's happening in the arena, right? Let's talk about what's happening in the community and what happened this last season in terms of the Monsters Community Foundation, some of the grants you guys were able to provide, and also just some of the general community relations achievements from the year. Our own Raven Payne doing a fantastic job, as is everybody in the front office, making an impact.
Yeah, Raven really spearheads our community efforts and does an amazing job, as you mentioned. But I think University Hospital's Rainbow Babies Night, that was a real highlight in terms of what we did out of the arena, getting our guys into the community again and designing jerseys with patients at UH Rainbow was really special. And then we were able to give back $23,000 through that promotion to UH Rainbow. One of many grants that we had this year. We gave to 1,000 Watts of Holy Light Foundation with the Michael Stanley tribute, Denzel Ward's Make Them Know Your Name Foundation for heart health, and a number of grantees. So folks don't know this, but you can go to clevelandmonsters.com/community and apply for a grant from our foundation. And we saw more inquiries than we have previously, and we were able to make some of those grants happen.
Well, that must be really gratifying, not just to make the impact the Monsters make year over year, but to see that pursuit sort of get bigger and broader as time goes on. I'm sure that leaves you and the rest of the front office staff feeling really good about what we're doing with our platform.
Yeah, and that's what Monsters hockey is all about. It's about the connection to Cleveland and our fans and the community. And in addition to being a spot with great entertainment options and where you can come see an awesome hockey game, it's a chance for us to give back to the community that supported us.
We're talking here with Ben Adams. He is the Monsters Vice President of Marketing and Communications. Ben, let's just go back one more time to something that happened this past season. We have to discuss the Outdoor Classic. I mean,
Yes.
What a day for a number of reasons.
I've
A
just
day
recovered,
that we'll never
yes.
forget. But, the attendance figure, the experience for the fans, the delay, the drama of that day, all of us will remember that forever. I'm sure that we're there. But how about that? Just give everybody a sense of what it takes to stand up an event like that.
Yeah.
It's one thing to have an idea. It's another thing to actually pull it off.
Yeah, and we knew what we were getting into, but as we got closer, just the amount of work that folks from the Browns, First Energy Stadium, and our own team gave to be able to pull that off was really incredible. I'm really proud of the effort. It was an amazing sight to see us win that game, and all the added elements of what the pageantry of playing outdoors was really great. But 22,800 fans at that game. It's the third largest attended game in AHL history. It's a bit of a nebulous number here with the delay, but that's we had a lot of folks in the building as a great spotlight on Cleveland hockey.
All right, we're going to take a break in just a second here, but Ben, one more on last year. I know all of these folks that come to the games as fans, they have a tie to the front office, whether it be a ticket rep or someone they have a relationship with that they know, but no one really knows unless you're in there how devoted these individuals have to be in the front office to making everything happen for the organization. How about a word for the staff?
Yeah, really appreciative of everyone's efforts, the sacrifice that our staff makes. We're putting in a lot of time when folks are here to enjoy themselves, so it's a lot of weekends and long hours. But I especially want to thank everybody on the sales side from a membership development standpoint that's giving our fans a great experience, but also the folks that put on these amazing events, whether it's Fieldhouse Creative, our game presentation staff, all the part-time folks that we have, like our Ice Patrol and our Game Ops crew. There's too many people to name individually, but I'm hoping they're all enjoying a little bit of downtime before we get back here in October.
Too many people to name and smart not to try.
That's right.
On your part. That is Ben Adams, Monsters VP of Marketing and Communications. Time for a break on Monsters OT. More with Ben when we come back. We're presented by the UH Drasinski Sports Medicine Institute, only here on Valley Sports, Great Lakes. Welcome back, everybody, on Monsters OT, presented by the UH Straczynski Sports Medicine Institute here on Valley Sports Great Lakes. Tony Brown back with you for more of our Labatt Blue interview. We're alongside Monsters VP of Marketing and Communications, Ben Adams. All right, Ben, we talked about last year. Let's talk about next year. We talked about promotions, right? Those are going to be back, a whole host of new ones, some old favorites, but take us inside quickly here a little bit of how the promotional schedule is going to come together over the course of the next 3 months.
Yeah, some folks think we take the summers off, but really now's when the work happens. It's when it's really fun to be a part of the front office because you get to be creative with all this time that we have. So right now we're getting together, we're brainstorming ideas for next year. We've got some, as you mentioned, some returning promotions we can kind of build around, but we're always looking to keep things fresh, and whether it's finding the next new movie that's coming out or the next awesome giveaway, those are the things we're working on right now, and I can tell you where we're at right now. We feel pretty good about the promotional schedule for next year.
Okay, got to ask you about this. A huge hit with the fans at the end of last year, but it's going to be around to stay, right? I'm talking about the Modelo Fan Cruiser. That'll be back?
Absolutely. 8 people on every ride. It's basically opened up our Zamboni rides to about 10 times as many people per game. So if you hadn't had the chance to ride it yet, you may get your shot next year, but it's absolutely going to be back. It was a hit.
Now listen, we want to keep everything as secretive as possible, of course, to build the suspense, the drama for next year, but anything else you want to add about what fans might be able to expect going forward?
I think I would just generally tell our watchers of Monsters OT here, keep your eyes out for an exciting brand announcement this summer. I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but I think there's going to be some news that our fans are pretty excited about from a brand perspective.
Exciting brand announcement.
Right.
Okay, so keep your eyes peeled, Monster fans, throughout the summer months. Can't wait for training camp in the fall, but you said it. We need to rest up a little bit at some point in the year, so I know we're all excited for the summer. That is Ben Adams. He is the VP of Marketing and Communications for the Monsters. Ben, really appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you, Tony.
All right, we'll take a break. More Monsters OT straight ahead. Up next, it's Monsters Memories on Valley Sports Great Lakes, presented by the UH Straczynski Sports Medicine Institute. Welcome back, everyone. One final time this year on Monsters OT, presented by the UH Straczynski Sports Medicine Institute here on Valley Sports Great Lakes. Tony Brown back with you to wrap up the show this week. But before we do that, we wanted to mention big news. I guess it didn't quite make the headline segment, but Monsters OT, really as a group here, we're so honored to have received our first Emmy nomination. As the Central Great Lakes Emmy Award nominations came out recently, Monsters are up there with some pretty big names for the best edited sports program. So just a massive amount of thank yous go out to the crew here that makes this show possible. And that all starts with Leo Simone and Jeremy Hawks. And speaking of those guys, as we've reached our final Monsters Memories segment of the year, we thought we would send you off with some great images and sounds from the 22-23 season. Before we do that, though, we have to say thank you to everybody. It starts with you, the fans who tune in. It starts with the fans who are in the building on Monsters game nights at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse, creating that atmosphere which is so important to the players' success on the ice and to all of our enjoyment here in the building. But again, we mentioned Leo Simone, Jeremy Hawks. Those guys do so much great work for this show. It extends, though, on to Chris Thomas and Mark Zaremba, who have been foundational in getting Monsters OT off the ground the first couple of seasons here. Huge thank you goes out to my co-host, Brad Thiessen. For today's show, a huge thanks to Ben Adams, Monsters VP of Marketing and Communications, for joining us, and really the entirety of our crew, the Fieldhouse creative staff with the Cavaliers organization, and all of the really creative professionals that make this show and all of the programs that are produced here what they are. So thank you guys so very much. With that, one more time, for Monsters Memories, let's take a look back at the 22-23 season, and we'll see you with more Monsters OT in the fall.
I mean, we couldn't ask for a better place to be, a city we're already familiar with and love, and now get to lead, a great organization already, hopefully into some bright days ahead.
Done! Let's go! Reach fires, he scores! got Robin and Batman. So here's for you guys.
Wow, guys, what do you say? Oh, amazing.
Jake Christensen with a laser.
I'd like to thank the fans of Cleveland for all your support and enthusiasm for us old lumberjacks, and I've been very fortunate.
Right point, it's Bjork. Bjork towards the net, deflected, they score! Puts Cleveland up.
But on this day, on the shores of Lake Erie, how about we take this thing outside for old time's sake? The Cleveland Monsters Outdoor Classic, March 4th at First Energy Stadium.
I am predicting a 100% chance of a Monsters win today. Let's go, Monsters!
Right wing Gary done a 2-on-1, has it, fire, save Tokarski, and he doesn't know where it is. Loose to his left, still no whistle, and then they score! They score! It's Bjork in OT! This one's over! Marcus Bjork wins it for Cleveland!
Oh, you guys were awesome this weekend. Getting the energy from the crowd, the best crowd in the AHL, so it always helps.
Just keep doing what you've been doing all year. You guys have been awesome. We love you, and thanks for keep coming out and supporting us. We appreciate it.
Receive the pass, now the puck in behind, Luoto fires, Yana Luoto ties the game at 1, and a torrent of